Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
McCaig, Wertz,
Yes?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent, Griffin,
Here.
Ware, Campbell.
Here. I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And now is the time for public comment. Do we have anybody wishing to address the board? The format for the board, everyone is given 3 minutes to address the board. Is there anybody for public comment? Being nobody for public comment, we'll move on.
An enrollment update.
They all thought I was coming from public comment, but I am here for the enrollment update. So for fall 2023, our total credit hours, we are up 5%. For last year at this time, for our head count, we were at 2,233, and this year we're at 2,327. So that's a 4.2% increase. We are continuing to enroll students. We have walk-ins for the next 3 weeks, so students are able to come in, register on the spot. And then we also are having our orientation, new student orientation, which is August 18th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., where students can also register, but hopefully they've already taken care of everything, but still a last-minute opportunity for them to do that. We finished up second round interviews for our Director of Admissions and Enrollment Management last week. So we are hopeful that hopefully by September we'll have a candidate to bring forward to the September board meeting. So, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
A budget health update.
so I've asked Mary to provide some insights there, since it's the beginning of our fiscal year.
My budget health update tonight's really just a financial update. The statements that you received in your board book are as of June 30th, which were as of the end of February, or July for June. We're continuing to work in fiscal year 23. We'll be reporting on fiscal year 23 yet next month. The good news that we did meet with our audit team earlier this week from Sheffield Boyle. Robin Klingler will be the lead on the audit this year. We had a good discussion. We met Robin, Sarah, and Julie. We have a plan. They're going to come on site in September and start doing some of the field work. Sorry, can't read all that. We are making some adjusting entries still, and we are paying our final invoices next week. We're hoping to do our last check run for 2023 on August 15th. We will continue to book any adjustments from that point by journal entry. One of the big adjustments we have yet to see for 2023 is on taxes. So the revenue that's showing for taxes is not final. We are still waiting on an EAV from Calhoun County. We are told that they do not have an assessor, so their EAV is running late. And we've talked to the auditors about how we might handle that should we not get a final number in time. We are still continuing to project the end of fiscal year 23 with $3 million more in revenue than expenses. And as always, we want to thank the entire Lewis and Clark team for their careful spending and being mindful of the needs of the college as a whole. Any questions?
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate that.
The omnibus agenda.
The omnibus agenda is presented for a vote. Is there any item the board would like to be hauled out and vote separately? If not, I'd like the motion to approve the omnibus agenda. Motion? Second, thank you. Clerk Hogan. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent, Griffin.
Yes. There are no action items, information items.
So if there are any questions on any of these informational items, they're pretty straightforward. We'd be happy to address any of those beyond what's in the book. Okay. I do have a few items in my
Leadership team reports, just keep talking,
I've
Dr.
got,
Traska.
I've got 2 hours of comments to keep this meeting. I just have a few things. So in all seriousness, we're really excited about the new year that's going to start off with our full team back on campus next week. So we have our in-service week starting Monday, and then I'll welcome everyone back on Tuesday. And the focus of my presentation is really on continuing to build literally our future together. So I've got a little treat tucked up my sleeve for the team, and hopefully an inspiring message to get us kind of off on the right foot as we move forward through this next year. There's going to be a lot more transformation this year. One of the areas that we're sort of starting with, so today and tomorrow we have a couple of IT consultants on campus. Earlier this summer, the executive team and I met with a couple of groups to really start to sort of frame some of the needs and ideas that we have about transforming not only the IT aspect of our work, but the data governance and the IR areas. So we hope, or plan really, by the September board meeting, even prior to that, is providing the board with a report of findings and recommendations. And really the strategic thinking here is that those are going to be pretty heavy investments. So we're looking at those investments likely being spread out over 2 to 3 fiscal years as we look at both infrastructure, perhaps personnel, but also looking at policies and practices as related to data governance, IR, IT. So I think today we had over 50 team members, different groups, everyone from student affairs to the executive team, to our scheduling folks, to our IT folks. I know Ron spends a couple, 2-3 hours tomorrow with JJ and Alex. So we're excited to see where this goes. So that's a big one. The other one that we're sort of really focused on is obviously getting the full team engaged even deeper into our strategic plan. So I'll be talking a little bit about that next week, but I think Thursday we have a KD lead meeting, and we'll be meeting every 30 days. And so the good news is we have a software now, which we've actually had for a couple of months, and now we're going to start digging into. It's called Tableau. This will be sort of a soft introduction to our dashboards, and so I'm going to plug our strategic plan into Tableau, and that's going to allow us to track progress against our benchmarks. So I'm hoping every 45 to 60 days we'll be able to show some measurable movement on those data. So I'm pretty excited about that. And obviously, main complex is a big one. So this year is the year that we should really be digging into planning schematics, and we hope a year from now that we are literally and figuratively, kind of in the ground digging and working on this main complex. And so we would plan maybe by September. This is all contingent on Capital Development Board feedback based on the latest updated budget, which is focused on a $42 million construction budget. Even though this is a $50 million project, we're really staying within that $42 million. Once all that's approved, then we're able to move on to the next step, and we'll of course keep the board informed. Both Donna Ware, Trustee Ware, and Trustee Wertz are both on that planning committee, so they're meeting with us as well. Donna had an opportunity, I think this might have happened before the last board meeting, but I don't know if I mentioned it, had a chance to tour the main complex and meet with Chris Chavetta and his team to learn a little bit more around process and sort of steps that we're going through. So, so that's hopefully going to continue to move forward in a positive way. I'm trying to think here. That's really all I have, other than to also remind everybody that next month's meeting is in Edwardsville, so don't forget, we do that once a year. Just, move the meeting to another part of our community that we serve. So with that being said, just appreciate all of the support from the board and, of course, the team, and look forward to a great fiscal year '24. So thank you.
Can I ask a question, Dr. Traska?
Yes.
So when you were talking about, I think you said KD meeting monthly, or KD, like lead team meets
Yes.
monthly, and then you have new software that you're going to use, Tableau, to update the data on
Yep.
a 30 to 45-day basis. When you say you're going to update the data like that, are you going to come report out to the Board of Trustees like every 90 days or quarterly, or what are you thinking?
I like to probably do every 60 days. I
Okay.
mean, and there may be certain aspirations where there isn't a measurable progress being
Right.
made at that point. I mean, when we look at enrollment, I mean, really on that one, we want to sort of look year over year, semester over semester, so to speak. So yeah.
Just the things that you can measure.
Absolutely,
on an
and
ongoing-
it'll be a similar report to the campus, keeping them informed. The other part of this too is starting next month, the board will get kind of my one-page update, which I hope has a link that you can just click on. And the other part of this dashboard sort of vision is that there's something for finance. Perhaps there's something down the road for the board that, hey, there might be some indicators that you as a board want to see more on a regular basis, or a real-time basis, however we define real-time. So just from a transparency perspective and also a progress perspective, so that we're always aware of where we are and we know what vulnerabilities we're facing. So
Are there
four key directions. Key direction 1 is focused on enrollment and retention. KD 2 is focused on program development, curriculum development. KD 3 is focused on our internal culture, so transparency, collaboration, and KD 4 is the external focus on partnerships and collaboration with our community. So
How are you measuring culture? I can't remember.
yeah, so so that's the plan. It's a really large print. We did a culture survey last year, which was an outcome of KD 3 and 4, and so our benchmarks are those data that were the
Baseline.
outcomes. Yeah, yeah. So, and actually, very very specifically, to just kind of give you those specific ones. So benchmark fiscal year '23 team member climate survey data provided are benchmarks presented below. So these are the 3 specific benchmarks. I feel comfortable, I feel comfortable speaking up when I see intolerance, mistreatment, or bias at LC, benchmark 67%. I feel comfortable sharing my thoughts and ideas with the LC team members, benchmark 69%, meaning 69% felt favorably of that benchmark. I have opportunities to provide feedback to my manager, supervisor at LC, benchmark 68%. And then aspiration 2 is around the factor of belonging. So there are like a number of factors. Benchmark for the first measure there is I feel like I belong at LC, benchmark 80%. I feel respected and valued by my direct manager, supervisor, benchmark 76%. I feel respected and valued by my coworkers. At LC, benchmark 80%. I feel the overall culture in my department area is good, benchmark 73%. The overall culture at LC is good, benchmark 64%. I feel safe at LC, benchmark 81%. I feel comfortable sharing my thoughts and ideas with the LC team, overall benchmark 69%. And our goal there is to increase those percentages by 5% year over year. So, and we will deliver that survey year over year in November. It's going to be right pretty much at the same point in time. And then we'll report that back to the board in May. So we have a presentation to the campus, and then a presentation to the board where we unveil the survey results, and then of course that will be reflected in our outcomes. And hopefully we don't just meet those, but we exceed those. So we're doing a lot of work internally, which is really the work of KD 3 and 4 overall to focus on culture. So pretty excited.
That's great. Thank
Yep,
you.
Sure, thank you.
So on the main complex, I'm sorry if you said this, I didn't catch
Yeah.
it. What's the next step?
So Capital Development Board is now reviewing the updated budget.
Okay, when do
And
they plan to be, I mean, do they give a deadline, or is it whenever they feel like it, or?
I haven't heard anything. Lori, have you, or anyone on your, is Lori here? Yeah, maybe a month-ish. Yeah, but I don't want to be quoted on that. Yeah, and it's been already a few weeks. Yeah, yeah.
What's their output then? from that.
So we'll have an approved budget, and then we start looking at schematics and next-level
So it's a
design.
big
Yep.
step.
Yes, it's a huge step,
Okay.
yeah. It's actually a really big step, and we'll have them present on that, and we'll pull together the team, and it's, yeah. Yeah, so really, by springish of next year is when they feel we should be able to begin, you know. But, yeah, and we'll talk more about what our plan is for timeline and some of the things we've spoken about with how to manage that, so. All right. Thank you all, yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah, you know, yeah, JF Electric. So, do you want to talk about that, Lori? I mean, so a couple weeks ago, we had, yeah, we had one of our contractors cut through a wire, and that created some havoc. So I'll let Dr. Artis talk about what that havoc led to and where we are at this point.
So there was a power line that was buried only 2 feet below ground, wasn't properly marked. So they were, JF was the general contractor, Burco was the sub who was doing the boring. Found that unfortunately with their boring equipment. That was, the result was power outage to the entire Godfrey campus. That was on Friday, July 28th. So we have made a claim with our insurance company. In fact, the adjuster was out yesterday and walked the campus and took a look at everything with Wolf. So, you know, we have a contract in place, and we'll be working through all that with, I'm sure, our insurance and theirs, and perhaps some help from Matt Gardner as well. But while I have the microphone,
Yes.
I sound like a broken record, but our maintenance
Yes.
team and our campus safety team, just, they've put in so many hours.
Yeah,
And
they
yeah,
really
thank
do.
you. I don't know when Wolf or Corey or Cody have had a day off. Probably Matt too is included in that as well. But just, you know, we had to get campus shut down while we worked on it. But they worked all this weekend with our contractors to get, we had 2 buildings that were still on generator power. And our contractors worked all weekend up into and through the rain to make sure we could get those generators off our campus, because that, of course, is another expense that we were having to pay as a part of this. So lots of little intricacies and things that popped up with blown fuses and motors that had to be replaced, but they have really just worked to get everything back to where it needs to be. So any questions on that one? And no more emergencies.
Yeah,
we're kind of like averaging 1 every 6 months.
Yeah,
so,
we're hoping
like,
this, we've checked the box, seriously, we've done it.
whoever has our voodoo doll, like if they could just set it down, that'd be great.
Because the library, which you just saw, that renovation.
That was Christmas,
That was
yeah.
not going to happen until the main complex renovation, really, so it was expedited because of,
We're getting really, we have an emergency operations team, and we're getting really good at going through. We
Yes.
don't have to do these tabletop exercises as often because we're getting some real practice, unfortunately. So,
Lori, who gave Burco the approval, the board?
who gave Burco the approval? I assume JF. They were the general contractor. So we're still kind of working through the intricacies of why there was no marking or why that particular line was not identified. But
Sounds like somebody else's responsibility.
yeah.
yes.
I was out here Sunday, and there was pickups everywhere, people everywhere, and to talk about the supply chain still being broke, there was cable about this big, that was not in St. Louis. They had to go to Chicago to get it, because that cable was not available in this area.
That trucking company, Dwight, you're probably familiar with, that closed its shop this
Yep.
past week. We had equipment for this in one of those trucks, and they just, locked up all the trucks and closed their doors. So it's been fun, so.
The only thing we haven't had is locusts yet.
Well, as they were finishing up on Sunday was when we got the tornado watch. So we thought maybe that might be the next adventure, but, we've been spared for now.
But the
so.
only thing Dr. Trask in his leadership report kept talking about the new complex, so we're going to dig into this, and we're going to dig into that. I think we're done.
We're done digging. Yeah.
Maybe just into the walls,
That word's taboo now.
No, yeah.
No more digging.
Thank you, Lori. Yeah, thank you again to everyone involved. Wolf and your team, you guys are fantastic, so thank you.
Any other comments? Meeting adjourned.